Hello and welcome to week 34's FUT Weekly podcast. It is time, or it is TOTS Premier League, and I have with me two content experts to dig into what we've had over the past few days and what's to come as well. First of all, we have JoshXLS. Hello.
Hi Ben, yeah, good to be here. It's been odd. Like I'm excited for TOTS, but I'm not packing any of the good ones. Yeah, it's there's a lot to digest, I think.
There is, and to do that, we have Nate, the FUT Accountant. Hello.
Howdy as well. It's been an interesting up and down, I feel like, for the TOTS so far. Like some things have been good, but then other things don't feel like they've reached expectations or delivered the punch that TOTS normally does. So I'm interested to get into it today and maybe even look forward a little bit to what could change too.
Yeah, we'll do that. Maybe the good, bad and ugly of TOTS so far. But for now, let's do pound for pound powerhouse, and we'll get Nate to pick last week's winner. The nominations were Team of the Season Hato or Hato, Team of the Season Alexandro. We didn't mention this last time, but of course there's a famous Brazilian, at least in the Ultimate Team world, called Alex Sandro, but it is not Alex Sandro,
Right.
It's Alex Sandro. And there's also Team of the Season 𝘃𝘂𝘁. So who of those three are you going to be picking?
I'm going to pick the center back, Alexandro, with no space between the Alex and the Sandro. Mostly because I think he's kind of become a cheap beast, and a card like his you wouldn't think would necessarily be that hype. I mean, he does look good. He's got good playstyle pluses and stuff, but I'm looking at his price. Since Friday when he went out of packs, he's gone from 50K to 82,000 coins. So that's happened to a lot of the League One TOTS, but him specifically, that's impressive. And I mean, I have used him as well, and he's very good. So I think it's due.
Nice. Okay. I'm not happy about that, but we'll move swiftly on. Josh can have last week's pound for pound, and let's do this week's. So we have a listener nomination from Ibis. He has gone for Grace Clinton at 16k. She's a crazy pound for pound player. She's ever on the field as a box-to-box with Shadow, max pace with quick step plus, 92 shooting, 92 dribbling, almost 90 defending, although she can't head the ball. Physicals above 90, and her passing has 93 vision, 96 short, and 92 long. Another acceptable answer is pretty much the whole of the Women's Super League. You can grab the top 10 non-strikers for under 400k and insert your favourite striker. And Grace Clinton may be one of my favourite rush players. So yeah, strong starting nomination. And yeah, we'll move on to you, Nate. Who are you going to go for?
Firstly, I love the passion in that nomination, to be honest. Like, that's probably not a card or many cards that people are going to nominate, but like, that is what makes TOTS the most fun, is being able to use players like that you never would have before. And they're 100% usable, even if they are super cheap. Anyways, I got to go with the one who's pretty obvious. He's technically my best pack pull so far in Prem TOTS. But he's very good for only 60k. The 94 Bruno Fernandes with 3 passing playstyle pluses. He's a beast. I know we mentioned right before the pod started that his roles might be a bit of an issue, which is true. But for me, I'm running him as a playmaker plus CM, and he gets forward really, really well. I haven't shot too many like finesses or Travellas with him, but he does have the base playstyle for both of those. So I think he's going to be decent at those, but it's his passing that is just off the charts, at least for me. I really, really loved it.
Nice. Another good nomination. And let's move on to you, Josh.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot to select this week. I like the shout for the whole of the WSL, but probably a special shout out for that Mariona card, like under 100k for her at 96 rated, with like just those base stats are incredible, but she's got a really nice selection of play styles as well. But I'm actually going to go for somebody from the EFL TOTS selection. There are some really good cards in there and some very expensive cards as well. Like you've got Ayo Tanaka's at 1.2 million. Junior 𝘭𝘂𝘁, I think, probably the best left back in the game right now. Like in terms of well-roundedness, that's just an insane card. You got Borja Sainz, who's got a like unreal card from Norwich, and that's at 700k. And then like even Esteve centre-back card is probably top 5 or 6 centre-backs in the game. But I'm going to go with someone who's very cheap, and it's Stansfield. So he's a 93 rated striker from Birmingham. And he is just like everything you could want in a striker. So he's got finesse shot and low driven plus. Low driven, obviously, like super impactful inside the box, finesse shot, perfect outside the box. He's 5-star weak foot, so can do it off either foot. He's got chip shot plus as his third playstyle plus, and you may kind of go, okay, well, that's not great. I will say it's made me start using chip shot plus a little bit more, and off a volley, they break goalkeepers even if they're still stood in their net. So maybe we can talk about that on the gameplay pod this week. His other playstyles are kind of like perfect. I'd say the only thing he's missing is quick step. He's got tiki-taka, so you've got that quick passing around the box. He's got press proven, so he dribbles really quickly. He's got rapid, so he can get away on the ball from defenders. He's got first touch. He's got acrobatic, which may be why his volleyed chip shots are really good, actually, now I'm thinking about it. And he's got base trivela, which is all I think you need to hit really good trivela shots. And then you look at his stats, and I've been running him with a marksman so I could keep him controlled rather than make him controlled explosive. And he's got like maxed out finishing, 99 finishing, 99 shot power. He's got 98 long shots. He has 99 jumping with 96 strength. His dribbling is cracking across the board. He's only 90 composure, which feels odd to say only, but like it's enough. He's decent, especially on that 5-star weak foot. His passing stats are really good. He's got 97 vision, 93 short passing, and he's 21,000 coins. Like, considering he's English, so really easy to get that just one other English player in your squad or even just an English manager, that gets him on full chemistry because of the TOTS chemistry. He's really, really good. If you've got like a very low budget, he is probably one of the best strikers you can get for those kind of coins.
Yeah, and actually, player I was going to nominate, you just mentioned in passing, and that is Esteve, the French centre-back, EFL Burnley player. And yeah, I mean, a similar situation where I don't think you can find, I mean, he's actually 56k, which is it's not as cheap as many of these players are. But I can kind of see why he's a bit more expensive because he does have much more utility than a lot of the really cheap players. Or I guess he's very easy to get on chem because he's French, so that probably helps. But yeah, he's with a shadow, got maxed out defending. His pace is really, really high. I mean, you're talking like 96, averaged out with a shadow, and has 96 strength and 95 aggression. So in terms of those kind of core elements for a centre-back, he's smashing it. But then he also has ridiculously high passing in the high 90s for the key stats. And then, good enough dribbling, 92 reactions. He's mostly lengthy and has every defensive play style with block plus, slide tackle plus, and bruiser plus. And also ping pass just to make sure he can actually pass well. And he has relentless and aerial. So a pretty perfect or near perfect centre back. Obviously, you might want slightly better playstyle pluses, but I think for that kind of price and the fact, he's also a big boy at 6'4", means that, yeah, I think he's a straightforward and solid pound for pound nomination. And yeah, there's a good selection of players. There are plenty more good value players around. And actually, Hugh wrote in to point out that Dan Burn is basically Virgil van Dijk. I mean, the similarities in terms of playstyles, stats, etc., are quite notable. I think Van Dijk has 4 more sprint speed and 9 more reactions, he was pointing out. But although Van Dijk has that extra playstyle plus over Dan Burn, and actually should say this is the season pass version of Dan Burn available at level 35, Virgil van Dijk has the long ball pass playstyle plus, but Dan Burn has the regular version of long ball anyway, and they have the same playstyle pluses and other playstyles. So yeah, the fact that Van Dijk is 5 million coins, whereas Dan Burn is essentially free, is quite surprising, I guess. Although that is kind of a common theme throughout Team of the Season, it feels like it's continuing this Team of the Season where there are some incredible value players, obviously for pretty cheap. That being said, one thing that I think people have started to notice is that, Josh, EA haven't been particularly generous. I think we pointed out with, was it 𝘬𝘃𝗍 last week, and 𝗵𝗚 with the roles plus and plus plus they're giving out, which seems like a way they're kind of, I guess, managing the power curve at the start of Team of the Season. And maybe that will change as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the only area that they've kind of used to maybe try and pull back on the power curve a little bit for Team of the Season. We have quite a lot of four-star players. You look at Myles Lewis-Skelly or the Anthony Elanga SBC or even Trent Alexander-Arnold. They're all four-star. And I don't know if it was FUT birthday that I think made everyone think every card needs to be 5/5, but it definitely feels like if they're not 5/5, it is a big thing somebody points out. So that is one side. The roles one is quite interesting, mainly because I think it would divide the community a little bit between people who really think roles are super important, or at least having the plus is super important, and those that kind of don't really care for it too much. If your player's got 99 positioning, whilst we know that the role plus kind of gives them extra positioning, are they really going to perform that much worse? Is Bruno Fernandes going to perform worse, say, as a box-to-box midfielder on a plus than he would do as a playmaker on a plus? But it definitely feels like they've rode back a little bit in the areas that they've had. And we've spoken about it kind of throughout this season and even like last year as well, where we now, or at least EA now, have so many different elements that make up whether a card is good that they can kind of start cherry picking what they want to hold players back on. So one thing they've not really done with Team of the Seasons is go super low on the number of play styles. It shocked us, I think, looking last year at players that we were getting during Team of the Season, then even after Team of the Season, how few play styles they actually had, especially base play styles. They might have a lot of playstyle pluses, but the base play styles, they tended to not have too many. So they've not done that this year, but they have pulled back in terms of skill moves and weak foot. They have pulled back in terms of roles. I wonder as well, just whether like 3 playstyle pluses are that special. Like, I know we weren't all running around with 3 playstyle plus players in our team, but it wasn't like no one had used one before Team of the Season. I think like quite a few people had at least 1 or 2 Team of the Years. We'd had 2 Evos, potentially 3 Evos that gave us 3 playstyle pluses before we got to Team of the Season. So I don't know, maybe they're just not as special. And then the drop weight of those kind of lower rated Team of the Seasons just meant they're essentially discard straight away. So it's been like, it has been interesting to see how Team of the Season has hit. And I think for a lot of people, they would say it's not hitting. I think that's what the kids say these days.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. We kind of did speak about this before Team of the Season came, about like the worry that people had in those few weeks leading up to the Team of the Season when we kind of hit that malaise where the power curve hadn't moved. Everyone was a bit bored of the teams that they were playing. And there's no real like card that you're looking to get because EA aren't going to give you a massive promo just before Team of the Season because they want Team of the Season to feel special. But it doesn't feel all that special. And I think we kind of said that in our kind of preview pods.
And I guess it'd be interesting just sticking on the role point for a second, Nate. Do you think you notice that in the prices of players when the roles maybe aren't so meta, they do have a slightly lower price? I mean, I guess Bruno would be a maybe more obvious one, but obviously supply is also a huge factor and it's kind of hard to tell sometimes how reflective value is of performance.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit for some cards you could see that, but I mean, I look around too at some of the other Team of the Seasons that have like, I mean, there's a few cards that I've seen that have 5, sometimes 6 role pluses. Like that's not common, but there are some of those that have that many too. I just don't think most people, especially casuals, probably don't see the value of all the role pluses and turn that into, this card feels like it's worth more for me because it has that, I guess. So maybe a little bit, but not a ton, in my opinion. Yeah.
And then in terms of the point about maybe content not hitting, do you think there's potential that actually this is just the nature of Team of the Season Premier League? Because I remember past Team of the Seasons, often EA would not particularly go that hard during Team of the Season Premier League, knowing that people engage, and then up the content and make it more engaging post Team of the Season to keep people playing beyond what is traditionally the most popular Team of the Season.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth to that. And even inside of Team of the Season, I mean, this is a 7-week promo. So they've got to keep things moving even inside of this promo to keep it interesting. So everybody gets excited for Premier League and for the players that are going to be out and we have expectations that are really high, but then, it feels like EA doesn't necessarily deliver. But then EA's like, okay, we got to keep people interested for Bundesliga, for Serie A team this season after everybody's opened all their packs. So I think that's something I do remember from previous years too, like you mentioned, where I think it was last year and even 2 years ago where Premier League TOTS was good, but it wasn't as good as we would have liked, didn't meet our expectations. But then we saw some of the stats for Bundesliga cards. Like I remember that Harry Kane and the Florian Wirtz from last year that were really crazy. And then the SBCs got a little bit better and some of the Evos too. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to see if that changes for like the next couple of weeks compared to what we've had so far. And like what we've had so far doesn't feel like a complete L to me either. I feel like League One was fun, kind of set the stage. The SBCs were maybe better then, but they weren't great. Premier League still has got some really good cards. I'm excited for the upgrade grind this week. I've not opened a ton of packs. I'm still excited because this is Prem TOTS. Like this is the 1 week where you have an opportunity to pack so many insane cards. But yeah, it's not hitting right now. I think there's some truth to that for sure.
And then I guess that point about having to engage the player base during weeks where maybe there isn't as much hype, I think is quite true, Josh. If you look at the next 2 weeks, we've got this week Bundesliga, Super League, and Frauen-Bundesliga, and then next week Serie A, Rest of World, and NWSL. So maybe not the most engaging, and then the next week after that week would be La Liga, so it would be more engaging for most people. So I guess they're going to have to up things over those next 2 weeks to keep people engaged, and I guess that's probably why things are a little bit more. Not sedate, but I guess, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say exactly what it is, but maybe there isn't enough beyond just do some SBCs, but they're not particularly appealing, maybe. Well, actually, I don't know. We haven't talked about them. What do you think about the SBC selection?
I think it's a bit crap. Like, it's not that the cards are necessarily bad. It's that they're bad by comparison to the cheapest cards like that you can get in packs. If we look at each week now, you have, if we start off with, say, 𝘚𝘃𝗍𝘬, okay? So he was almost 1 million coins. And that's a really good card, right? It is a really good card. But I don't know that he's 1 million coins if he's in packs. And
for sure.
He's quite easy to complete. Then 𝘵𝑚𝑎𝑔𝑎, I think he's actually a really good striker. I know there's been mixed reviews on him, but he's 186k. Again, I think he'd be cheaper if he was in packs. 𝘵𝑚𝑎𝑔𝑎, we know she'd be cheaper if she was in packs because we've got comparable cards that are much cheaper. So that's last week. You then come to this week. We've got Bruno Fernandes, who's very, very good, by the way, and is 150k. I think there's an argument to say he would probably be around that. Although if you compare him to Bruno Fernandes, maybe that's priced about right. Jamie Vardy's the big SBC for this week at 1 million coins, and it's like, do we need another striker? Like, Quick Step Plus is good. I would probably prefer Rapid at this point in the game. He's not 5'5", he's got low driven, but he doesn't have Finesse Plus. Like, there's just nothing big to go on, sink your fodder into here, and with no exchange, which I think is becoming more of a problem. What are you supposed to do with all of these cards that you're packing? I think the reason why TOTS has hit in the past is because there was some sort of grind where you could, you were grinding towards something to get this player that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get, or you were, being able to just recycle all of those cards that you pack. We're in silly season. You can get a competitive team with almost no effort whatsoever. Net did a Road to Glory, not that I'm, promoting my own videos that I edit, but Nep did a Road to Glory, and within like 3 days of just doing the menu content, not like grinding, not playing loads, but within 3 days he had a team that took him to 8 wins from 12 games in Champs. He didn't even bother playing the last 3 to get up to 9 or potentially 10 wins. Or he could have gone to 11, but he probably would have bottled one of them. And so, like, if that's the state of the game right now, what is it that's going to keep people grinding and coming back? Because the pack weight of those cards that really would change your team is so low that you're probably not going to get those. But there's nothing else to grind for. I'm about to finish 𝘭𝑪𝘬𝘬𝘦, and I don't think he's worth it at all, but I've had so many high-rated cards. I have to put them somewhere. And like, we got the icon pick SBC refresh last night, and they've added all of the best icons into it now, which is good. It's a 90 plus rating. That is good. But it's like 289s and a 90 rated squad, something like that. And that's expensive for a pick that's going to get you cards that just aren't very expensive more often than not. And even if they are expensive, maybe they've got an SBC. I don't know. For me, I feel like because there's no icons or heroes with Team of the Season, I feel like those most expensive icons that people don't really get access to, I feel like this is when we should be seeing those 30 squad SBCs. Give us somewhere to just sink the fodder into to go and complete. Like, would anybody care if they released a 2 million coin SBC for 96 Team of the Year Pele? He's only got 2 playstyle pluses. He's really good still, but is anybody upset with that? I don't know. I just feel like there's different aspects that are missing. We don't have a real cup. We've not had anything like. Last year, every single week, there was a cup where you had to use the team of players from the league or from the leagues that were being released that week. Where is that this year? Where's the competition that goes, let me build the best team from each league so that I can go and compete in this thing and just do something a bit different and fun? And then I'm sure we'll get onto Evos later on. Then you've got the problem of Evos, which we're still being charged like 125k for an Evo. And every card that goes through that Evo looks exactly the same. And that exactly the same card is worse than 20k players on the market. So why am I paying 125k for it? I just feel like the whole flow of Team of the Season has kind of stumbled in every single facet of the game. In gameplay, in the content, in SPCs, and in evolutions. And I think that's why there's this kind of feeling of, is this it? That's kind of in the community at the moment.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because I think this isn't it, actually. And things will ramp up. I imagine we will get those cups because they're going to, as you say, they need to engage people a bit more. This won't do for Team of the Seasons where there isn't already that interest in the players that are being released. And I think that I was also surprised that we haven't had the cup or some kind of cup based around the league or leagues yet, because it seemed an obvious way to engage people with the bad players that they're packing. Or they're not bad, they're decent, but you know what I mean? It's like a really 100%. Straightforward way to engage people. We do need to take a break. We've left it a bit long, but we'll be back just after this. Hello, welcome back after the break. Nate, do you want to add anything before we kind of move on from the overall, I guess the ugly of the Team of Season so far, maybe?
Yeah, I would. I think Josh made a good point with some of the pricings for the SBCs and even how EA are requiring some higher rated squads right now for cards and for packs that you would think are too high. Just looking at 89 and 90 rated squads, like 4 91 rated squads for 𝘵𝗵𝗽𝗀𝗧 seems like a lot. But I think EA have to do that because to get the price where they want it to be, which still could be too expensive, I think we agree on that, for 𝗪𝗲 at least, the price of fodder itself is ridiculously cheap. And literally fodder cards 90 rated and below are not selling on the market, which is actually, I think, kind of a big problem because you have a lot of people who are packing these cards and sure, they want to put most of them into SBCs, but sometimes from your rewards, you want to make some coins. You hit a tradable 89 rated Courtois and you try to sell him and you go and you see like, oh, he's not selling for even 9,000 coins on the market. Like that's a bit of a problem for SBCs and their pricing, but also for people's enjoyment of the game, feeling like they're getting some worth and value from packs that are tradable, even untradable. When you look at the price of a card you pack and you're like, oh, Harry Kane's 10K, cool. Like that card was, back when the Player of the Month 𝘵𝘳𝗋𝘄 SBC was out, those cards were like 50K. So I think that's a bit of an issue right now with SBC values and those cards. And I mean, the fix would be pretty easy. Let's be honest. It would just be exchanges coming back because that would give instant value to anything, especially the 88s and the 89s. But I mean, that would be the fix for a lot of the issues. And I think a lot of people would love exchanges right now with TOTS, with the upgrade pack grind that is very good. I think that's one of the parts of Team of the Season so far that I like, specifically the crafting upgrade, the fact that it's unlimited repeatable. Like that has packed me so many blues just because I've been able to rinse into that pack, then into the premium upgrades or help me restock my club after doing 83 10s and 84 7s every day. Like, I do really love that. But yeah, in terms of the exchanges conversation, like, what a better time to have them. And we need something to change with the fodder side of the market, because it is literally as low as it can go, unless they decrease price ranges, which would not be good.
I mean, to quote a famous press conference, it can't go on like this, I think. There's just
It can.
There's just too much kind of not quite right about the way things are going. It's not to say that it's not fun. Like, there's plenty to do in the game, and it's not a disaster, but I think there's definitely a need for things to kind of shift, because things aren't quite in the right place. And they will have to shift, as I said, post Team of the Season Premier League to keep people engaged. So we'll see what happens. And I do think like the higher tier SBCs need to come for that to work as well, because at the moment it's just Hullet really that people would be interested in doing. And actually, he expires, I think, in 16 days or something like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. As we've been saying, maybe it is exchanges. We'll see. Okay, let's move on. I would kind of like to cover a few more players, because I don't think we've done that too much, and we have got a lot of players. So is there anyone else that people feel who has kind of stood out to them? I think you mentioned Tanaka, the CDM. I think probably one of the most expensive EFL players we've had ever.
Yeah, like just a crazy card. Like sometimes you'll go, oh, is he expensive just because nobody's packing him, or because they're not in champs rewards? Like, is that why? No, this is just an absolutely unreal card. Like, in terms of defensive midfielder, I really don't think there will be much better than him on the game from a stats perspective. Now, I'm saying this having not used him. He's only got a lean body type, so maybe he doesn't have that like bulkiness that you really want. But in terms of his playstyle pluses, he's got intercept plus, ping pass and long ball, and relentless plus. So, like, pretty good for a midfielder, especially defensive-minded, with that intercept, 2 passing playstyles, and then one that allows him to just go all game, especially if you're a second-man press spammer. And then from his base playstyles, he's got Bruiser and Anticipate, so maybe only missing Jockey, but in the midfield, I think Bruiser Anticipate's probably more effective. He's got Press Proven, Incisive, and Tiki-Taka. So in terms of like that defensive midfielder, he's really, really, really good. Now, he's a base silver, which means you could get him out of those silver packs that we are still getting every day. And if you're not doing that silver upgrade every day, then I'm not sure what you're doing, because it's just free cards, essentially, to do an upgrade grind with. But as I said, like, even outside of him, in terms of like the championship players specifically, they're kind of all really good. Like, 𝘍𝑀 Science is an unreal card. That Junior 𝘂𝘂, I think, has gone under the radar massively. I don't know if it's because he's got a tough nations link as Dominican Republic, or just people don't like using Leeds players for whatever reason. But he's controlled lengthy, kind of with any play style that you would usually give him. Like, if you want to max out his pace and give him a shadow, he's controlled lengthy, so he's going to feel incredibly quick. He's got Jockey, which is perfect for fullback. He's got Anticipate, so he can win the ball. He's got Incisive, so playing the ball up the line and out of defense. He's also got Base Pinged. He's also got Bruiser. He's also got Rapid, so he can carry the ball for you. Like, in terms of having roll plus pluses, he's got the 3 roll plus pluses people really use at on the left-hand side. So he doesn't have false back, but he's got full back, wing back, and attacking wing back. He's only 230k. Like, it's genuinely like an incredible card. So I think they've done a really good job, like, making the quote-unquote lesser league TOTS really attractive. And if we look ahead, I feel like that's building up for the week before Ultimate TOTS, when it's essentially Ronaldo versus Messi in the MLS and Saudi Pro League showdown. If they can build up to that by going, look, we've already given you all of these insane cards. This isn't special treatment for Ronaldo and Messi, despite it absolutely being special treatment for them. Then, I think it's maybe a sign of things to come. And like, let's have a shout out. The chemistry system for TOTS has made these cards infinitely better, because you don't really have to worry about chemistry putting them in your teams.
Yep. That's a very good point. Anyone else you've spotted, Nate? Or any kind of players that you think might rise? And I guess also maybe interesting to talk a little bit about the sort of market on the more expensive players.
Yeah, I think talking about players that rise is a very interesting point, because if you take a look back at the first week of TOTS with D1 Arkema in League One, a lot of those players have risen out of packs, whether they rose from where they went on Friday, because a lot of the cards dropped then, or whether they're up just in general from, the middle of the week, especially around Rivals rewards, since those rewards are really good this year and we've seen it impact the market every single Thursday. That's been a pretty good time to pick up players from a current Impacts promo team right before they leave. I think that's going to probably be the move with the Prem cards as well. Some of them, if you remember last week for League One, we had the double guarantee day on, was that Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday, where we had the League One guarantee and the League One / 𝘵𝘠𝘬𝘬𝘀 guaranteed. So hopefully this week we have both of that for Prem and Women's Super League as well. And some of the top tier cards, like that would be an 𝘵𝘵, that would be a Declan Rice, a 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘬𝘀, a 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘬𝘬, those more expensive cards over like 500K. Some of them actually might be their cheapest early Wednesday before those SBCs come out, because like in previous years, a lot of people see those guaranteed packs as like maybe their last big chance of packing one of those top tier marquee players that they want to put in their team. So especially for a guy like 𝘵𝘵, so many people want to use him. He might be lower Wednesday before that SBC, and even with Rivals coming out, because a lot of people know to buy during Rivals. So some of those top tier rare cards could actually be their lowest in like Wednesday. But between Wednesday and Thursday, I think is going to be a good time to, especially, if you want to buy anybody from the team, probably some of the cheaper cards, they're going to get packed more. I look at 𝘃𝘃𝘀𝘁, like, I think that might be, I know there's a couple of left backs in the team, and I'm kind of snubbing my man Anthony Robinson by saying this, but I think that 𝘃𝘃𝘀𝘁 card looks really good. He could, if he had like anticipate instead of slide tackle or block, that would be sick. But I've only heard great things about him in game. So that's a card that I would just shout for a quick beast right there. And other than that, like, a lot of the cards still interest me. If I packed Cole Palmer, I would totally use him. He's 5'5" instead of his team of the year, which was 5'4", I believe, or 4'5", one of the two. And he doesn't have Finesse Plus, but that's still a card I'd be interested in using. And there's so many players that look interesting to me, but again, as we've been talking about, maybe just not as insane as we would have liked to see, but they are cheaper. So, yeah.
One thing that was interesting to me is how cheap Saka is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 65K for someone who has theoretically a lot of hype, and the card does look good. It's not like there's a huge issue there for me. I mean, he's not, he doesn't look amazing, but he has the roles that people would play him at. He has Finesse Plus. He'll feel good on the ball. Maybe doesn't have loads of passing play styles. Also lacks quick step, but he's 5-star skills, etc. Do you think that's just pure supply potentially, and the fact that people probably just are getting kind of similar or better options even?
I think if you wanted a good Saka card, you've already got it.
Yeah, that's true. I guess with Evos, right?
I'm looking at like my Wang Shuang from the Team of the Year 500K evolution, and she has 91 pace, 90 shooting, 85 passing, 94 dribbling, is 5-star, 4-star, has finesse shot, rapid, and first touch plus. And I just don't think this Saka's that much better. Like, he's got a few, like, he's slightly better in terms of his stats, but like, I just think people have got better, like far better attackers than him. So if you're going to use him, it's because you like Saka and you want to use a Saka card. But I'm pretty sure that base Bukayo Saka's had better Evo paths. So,
yeah,
he
had one recently, actually, to be fair. In fact, he might currently have one.
Yeah, his Thunderstruck into left foot forward makes a better card than his team of the season card.
Yeah. I mean, the Thunderstruck was an SBC a while ago, to be fair, but even his light inform looks pretty good through it. So, yeah.
I feel like part of the issue with people not liking the value of some of these cards in packs is because of some of the bigger names are cheap. Like the McAllister's 150K, Saka and Bruno are both 50 to 60,000 coins. And since they are, bigger names in the world of football, and EA has given them lower rated cards, which is not necessarily undeserved. Like Saka was injured for a long time, but he still got in team of the season. So maybe he's not going to be, 96 or 95 rated. And so he's cheaper as a 93. I just think that's maybe one thing that EA is going to realize, and we're realizing through this, is like the big name players, when they have lower rated, like cheap cards, like right now people are like, oh man, like Saka's only 65K, this game is dead. Bruno's only 65K, this game is dead. Well, Like, it's not necessarily about the player. Sure, that player is exciting and hype and popular, but it's the stats and it's the card and the ratings that make it the price that it is. And sure, the player's likeness definitely plays into the price in a lot of different cards, but for these, there's just so much supply because they're lower rated. And I think that's something that I've noticed, maybe not for the first time, but it's really prevalent in this Prem TOTS. Is like, there's big name cards that are really cheap. And I think that ruins it for some people.
I think it's a really sound point, because like, if you just take a player now, I know he's central compared to Saka, but like Matheus Cunha is only one rating higher than Saka, but has 5 more pace, 3 more shooting, 3 more passing, 1 more dribbling, and 6 more physical. He's 4-star, 5-star instead of 5-star, 4-star, has finesse shot, but has power shot plus. So like, probably you'd argue he's got worse playstyle pluses, but he's like 7 times the price. He's 350k. As I say, it might be like the central tax, but it feels like they've kind of underpowered some of the bigger names, because it allows you to pack those bigger names. Like, oh my God, I've packed Team of the Season Bruno Fernandes. The fact that he's 60k, it has some effect, but I would also question how many people are packing these cards tradable. So how, like, do they care that much that he's only 60k?
That's fair.
And so it might, maybe for the hardcores, we're kind of going, oh, they've underpowered them. They've like, killed this or this, or, McAllister doesn't have any version of intercept. Am I really going to use him as DM? Like, all of those questions for the hardcores will be there. But if you're a casual player, and that's usually who comes in kind of vast swathes during Team of the Season, you'll go, oh my God, I've only been on the game an hour and I've packed Team of the Season Saka and Bruno Fernandes.
That is a good point. I mean, it makes it more casual friendly without overpowering those teams as people start to build them, I guess, because plenty of people do start playing or come back playing around Team of the Season. So it makes sense. Let's take another break and then we'll come back and talk about evolutions, maybe a bit of menu stuff right after this. Hello, and in this break, a quick reminder that the pod is made possible by supporters. The pod didn't used to be weekly. Yes, FUT Weekly wasn't actually weekly for a time. And then someone suggested setting up the Patreon. And since then, the pod has been weekly. And in fact, it's been twice weekly because there is that supporter episode every single week. So if you'd like to catch that episode and keep the podcast going, it's just £3 a month to do so. And you get loads in return. And there are perks higher than that, including access to the Discord too. So if you're interested and would like to support the podcast, then head over and search Support FUT Weekly. Go to Patreon and it's very easy to sign up. If you are a supporter keeping the podcast going, then a huge thank you for doing so. And if you do consider supporting, a huge thank you too. Right, let's jump back into the pod. Hello, welcome back after the break. Right, I've seen a lot of people quite kind of overwhelmed by Evos, I think, more recently, because, I mean, there's just a lot of different things going on, basically. And I guess it's maybe just worth highlighting, Josh, what the Evos are that you might want to kind of take a look at, whether it's for existing Evo players or just, I guess, for players you have in your club. And I guess people having to be a bit more selective than they once were, because previously it was a bit easier. You'd just go, oh, well, I can do these free Evos and I'm just going to do them. And then there's these paid ones which are a bit more expensive. So it's easier to say, oh, maybe I can't afford that. Whereas now there's a sort of selection of more reasonably priced Evos and occasional free ones. So yeah, are there any at the moment that you're like, oh, definitely take a look at that?
Yeah, yes and no. Like, the first thing I would say is that we need to start viewing every card rated 95 and lower through the lens of the season pass Evos. Because, we talked about, say, 𝘬𝘃𝗧, for example, if he had Anticipate instead of Slide Tackle, well, you can give him Anticipate Plus once you get to level 38 in the Premium Season Pass. Or, you could say maybe a midfielder's lacking a passing playstyle, you can give them Ping Pass Plus as long as they're less than 94 rated. So there's that element. And then also, again, something I think maybe we spoke about Roll Plus Pluses earlier. Maybe this is deliberate, but there's 6 Roll Plus Pluses in the season pass as well, including fullback at both the wingback spots. So, we talked about 𝘠𝘃𝗁𝘀𝗰 last week not having fullback at left back. Well, you can give her fullback at left back once you get to level 16 in the premium season pass. So those are ones that I would really get people to look at. I would also kind of have some element of looking at the objective Evos that we're getting at the moment. They tend to be kind of base playstyle focused. So I think there's 2 at the moment. There's one in daily play games and one in the Flash Rush event for TOTS Football's Coming Home, which, feels like a bit of a dig. And they both give a decent selection of normal playstyles. I don't know how excited people will get with normal playstyles, but I do think they're interesting.
Especially as they have pace boosting playstyles, like quick step and rapid in there. So
yeah. So there's technical rapid and long ball pass in one of them, and pinged press proven and quick step. I think the pinged press proven and quick step is probably the better of the 2, and that's from the daily play games. So definitely try and get those daily plays in. In terms of what are the best Evos right now, I think probably No Way Through is the one. No Way Through and the Specialist, I think, are maybe the 2 that I am focusing on more than the others. 𝗵𝘃𝗬𝗀𝘀 Grace makes some very fun players. I believe it's 𝗵𝘃𝗬𝗀𝗀𝘀𝘁 shaped evolution. So it makes players up to 74 rated. I think maybe people could sometimes can get distracted by the fact that they're 74 rated with really good stats. It doesn't mean they're better than the stats they've got, even though the rating on the card is lower. And with the way Evos are this year, the next evolution isn't going to make them absolutely insane, because it will be stat limited still, and so they're only going to get so good. But it's good for only 25k. There are some really fun players. 𝘵𝑛𝑛𝑦 looks amazing through it. But for me, No Way Through is the one that I think makes a really quite good right back.
With the centre back position as well added.
Yeah, we talked about wanting kind of better evolutions for fullbacks that just kind of made them better at fullbacks. Now, obviously, this does give centre back, but it gives a good pace boost, up to 92 pace, which means with a shadow you can get to pretty much max pace. It gives a decent physicality boost and a really good defending boost. I think it's probably one of the ones that's potentially worth it. I think with all of them as well, we have to remember that the TOTS card design gives that chemistry boost. So that there is benefit for them there. I tell you what, outside of that, it's tough though. Left foot forward for 125k is brutal. It really just doesn't make good enough cards to warrant anything like that kind of coin outlay. Bend It Like Deck was, a horrific name, but it gave Dead Ball Plus as one of the playstyles, and no one wants Dead Ball Plus as a playstyle on their player. So that's why it's free. Do you know what I mean? There are reasons why the free Evos are free.
Yeah, actually, one thing I would point out about Bend It Like Deck is that I noticed you can actually do register before it in quite a few cases, which does, I think, always avoid Dead Ball Plus being added. So there are quite nice combos through that. But also I was thinking as we move forward, it's worth kind of looking out for Evos that can go before Bend It Like Deck to avoid the Dead Ball Plus, because there are actually some very kind of, I don't want to say they're good, sort of very good team of the season level players that you can create through that, but there are some pretty strong ones. And obviously the advantage with Evos is you're more able to pick the exact play styles and stat combinations that you'd like to make them maybe better than a lot of the team of the season players you're getting. But that is one of the big issues at the moment, I guess, Nate, is sort of there are so many players coming out of all over the place which are actually pretty good and relatively comparable to the Evos that we're getting, at least the cheaper ones and the free ones, that I think it makes it tricky for people to feel that enthused by the evolutions unless they're running, a theme team or have a specific player they're trying to evolve.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think looking at if it's Evos for you that make you enjoy the game the most, then maybe you feel a little bit hard done by so far during TOTS, but also you finally now have 3 Playstyle Plus Evos that aren't that expensive. It's kind of crazy how we had three Playstyle Plus Evos that were 500,000 coins, and then all of a sudden, TOTS warm up or TOTS drops, and then they're only 150K or they're only 100,000 coins. And even some of them now that give a third play style plus are free. So it's crazy how that change has happened super fast. But for those who are creating Evo teams, like I'm sure it's giving some good upgrades there. The one thing I would mention, and I think this is going to become really a big topic of conversation now that people are getting progressed in the season, is the playstyle pluses you can add from the season pass. Even those you could use in an Evo situation. Like if you didn't want Dead Ball Plus, but you wanted to Evo somebody, sure, it's not like a 94 rated card like 𝘭𝑪𝘬𝘬𝘬 that you're thinking, oh, I'm going to put Anticipate Plus on my 𝘭𝑪𝘬𝘬. But if you're all about Evos, then maybe putting a third playstyle plus on a card that you're going to put into a Evo after that is another way to look at using the season pass evolutions. And those season pass Evos, like you can go on 𝘭𝑇𝑔𝗵, and see like people are searching up those Evos. Like when you look and see like what's being looked up, like the 94 𝘵𝘆𝗵𝘀 or the FUT birthday Ronaldinho. Like I bought a 94 𝘵𝘵𝗵𝘀 last week at 3.2 million coins because people are going and spending that much on that card to then put rapid, or he already has rapid, but to put tiki-taka, to put finesse shot, and to put technical on him to take him to 4 playstyle pluses because they feel like they're going to get an 𝘵𝘵𝗵𝘀 who's good enough for their coin value to lose those coins, but to have an 𝘵𝘵𝗵𝘀 they can use for the rest of the game if they want. So I'm starting to see a lot more people search up those 4 playstyle plus combinations that they can create through the season pass. And whether it impacts the market for a lot of cards, it's probably just a few, but I think that's kind of like the next big thing with Evos that a lot of people are going to start looking at this week into next week.
I just want to pick up on a point on 𝘵𝘵𝗵𝘀 quickly. How often do you come up against him in Weekend League at the moment?
Like any 𝘵𝘵𝗵𝘀 version?
Yeah.
Never at the moment.
I don't think I play him at all.
The Player of the Month version I used to see all the time, but not much anymore. Good point.
And I actually think if you look at his card, there's reasons why. I don't think any version of his cards are very good at the moment. I think he needs those playstyle pluses to kind of catch him back up with the power curve, like especially with the amount of R9 Ronaldos I see people running around with at the moment. Like I play him way more than I play 𝘵𝘵𝗵𝘀.
Yeah, that's very true. So does that mean that I'm just looking at this, and actually I spent 6.5 million coins on FUT birthday Ronaldinho quite some time ago, and he's up from like 3 and a bit to 5. Could be a profit in a week or two. Maybe not, but or will I turn him untradeable? That's the question. But it is quite interesting. I think that's added quite a good dynamic to the game, which we haven't seen previously, where it's like, oh, I can actually improve this extremely good player quite a bit using just a playstyle plus Evo. I think that's quite fun. Okay, well, is there anything to add? I mean, we're recording this just before content on Monday, so obviously we don't know, Josh, what upgrades are going to be coming. It's kind of hard to say about the specifics of the menu grind, but is there anything you just wanted to highlight at the end here?
I mean, we kind of know what's going to be coming. It's going to be 11 rares for essentially like the 7 like common, 3 rare gold Premier League and WSL packs. That is the 99% likelihood of what we're going to be getting. And what that essentially means is we have then a grind where you create as many of these packs as you can from what you have in your club. You'll then put the majority of the commons and then 2 rares in the team of the season crafting upgrades. That'll give you then 5 rares that can then go back into the Premier League like specific upgrades. That's probably the path most people will do. I know some people really like the player picks and get good value out of those. I don't think you can necessarily incorporate them into the grind because they use up too many rares compared to the commons. And I kind of like the specificity of going for the Premier League and WSL. League SBCs? League SBCs are really, really cheap and like give you some coin value return. And like I've done the premium one 500 times now, and have packed, I think, 7 tradable team of the seasons just this week from it. So that's probably from about 50 run-throughs. So, I mean, I really wouldn't overlook the power of those if you kind of are low, if you don't really know what to do with your club. But yeah, I think the menu grinder will be fine. I'll tell you what, if we do get exchanges, the menu grind will go into absolute overdrive because it will probably be pretty unlimited in terms of how much you can go around doing it. But just one kind of external thing, it's kind of a menu grind, but it's more of a season pass grind. I'm up to level 34 now. I have done everything because we're going to make a video on it. So, and I wouldn't usually spend my days playing amateur on career mode and player mode, but you can really fly up there. And if you were really desperate to progress in the season pass, there is like 4,500 XP every single week in career mode, the player mode, and then clubs. Career and player mode is really easy to do. It tends to be like 8 or 9 games. There's a weird thing in the player one about getting 10 manager requirements, and sometimes you get 2 for a game, sometimes it's just 1. I don't exactly know how that works, but you can play them on beginner or amateur and just kind of put your controller down there. You can put it on 3-minute halves as well, so really easy to get if you've kind of got some spare time. Maybe just remote play into your console and just let that play out. So yeah, it'd be, I think we'll see some 𝘵𝘂𝘃𝘀𝘁 rocking about from Thursday kind of afternoon. I think that'll be when people get there the first time.
Nice. Yeah. Or maybe not so nice if you haven't unlocked them yet, I guess. Which I certainly won't have. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many people storm through the pass. Okay, well, I think that does wrap us up for Premier League TOTS. Obviously, we'll be talking more on the gameplay episode this week. And actually, we are going to focus a little bit on playstyle pluses so we can talk about the best use of those season pass Evos. So that'll be interesting. If you are a supporter, then you can catch that later this week. If you're not a supporter, then consider supporting because you get double the podcast content and you'll be supporting the podcast and keeping it going. Just search Support for Weekly. Right. So yeah, thank you very much to Nate for joining us on this podcast. You can catch Nate on YouTube, Twitch, etc., keeping people up to date about the market and lots of other things around Ultimate Team. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ben. I mean, it is team of season, still exciting time, but just a little bit more, EA. Just push that slider up a little bit more and then we'll really be in tots.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it will come. But thank you very much as well to Josh. It has been good to have you on as always.
Thanks very much for having me. Yeah, it's been good. Like I like TOTS, but it's been a bit nice that I've not had to like hardcore grind it. I can just, I know I'm at level 34 in the season pass. I know that doesn't make any sense. But I've actually played less of the game than I usually would do at this time of the year. Kind of just because not packing anything, and so I'm like not as kind of invested in it. But yeah, it's nice to have a more healthy relationship with the game, I think, at this point.
Nice. And then, yeah, thank you very much to all you listeners for tuning into this podcast. If you would like to subscribe, then you can do that via the various different podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're catching this on YouTube, then do leave a like, drop a comment. It helps in the algorithm. And apart from that, thank you very much to all you supporters supporting the podcast, keeping it going. And a big thank you to those icon patrons. Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Brent P, Ralph, Josh R, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, 𝘵𝘀𝘁𝗃, Make B, Michael H, Andrew P, Arian B, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Alan G, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Dan W, Waterman, Also Ran, and 𝘵𝘂𝘁𝘃. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast. Oh, I cleaned the windows on the weekend for the first time in ages, and they look great.
Please put that in.
Yeah. Pre-pod banter, really. Pop it off.
See the birds in the trees outside. First time in like months.